In the wet mists of Costa Rica's mystical cloud forests once lived a creature so surreal, so impossibly vivid, it seemed pulled straight out of a fantasy realm. The golden toad Incilius periglanes was no ordinary amphibian. It was a fire-colored jewel in a sea of green, glowing like liquid gold against the lush backdrop of the Monteverde Reserve. Yet today it stands as one of the most tragic mascots of modern extinction. This toad didn't just disappear, it vanished in a roar of silence, leaving behind a legacy soaked in regret, climate crisis, and unanswered questions. Its extinction was not just a loss to biodiversity, it was a blaring siren for humanity's war against nature. If you've never heard of this amphibian, it's time you did, because its disappearance might foreshadow our own. This toad didn't whisper through the forest floor, it screamed. The male golden toad was unlike anything else in the animal kingdom, shimmering, with a neon orange so brilliant that it looked like it had been painted with molten sunlight. In the filtered light of the Monteverde canopy, it didn't just stand out, it radiated power. Males gleamed with a luminescent blaze, while females showed a deep, mottled pattern of black and green, laced with striking red markings. The contrast between genders was not just a spectacle, it was nature's most flamboyant performance of evolution and adaptation. These toads weren't just lookers, they were indicators, biological barometers of the forest's health. When they were abundant, the cloud forest thrived, but when they began to vanish, the ecosystem held its breath. Golden toads were found only in a tiny area of less than 10 square kilometers, a deadly geographic gamble that would eventually backfire. What happened to the golden toad is not an isolated story, it's a symptom of a pandemic. Amphibians across the planet are dropping like flies. These creatures, with their thin, permeable skin and sensitive life cycles, are the planet's early warning system. When something is wrong with the air, the water, the climate, they die first, and they are dying in droves. The golden toad's extinction didn't just hit conservationists hard, it was a gut punch to the scientific world. It was one of the first well-documented extinctions attributed directly to climate change. And that makes it a terrifying case study. The disappearance wasn't because of poachers or bulldozers or pollution alone. It was a complex, toxic cocktail of global warming, erratic weather patterns, and the mysterious Chytrid fungus. This amphibian-killing fungus has spread across continents like a slow-motion tsunami, annihilating hundreds of species in its path. But it was climate chaos that may have given the fungus its deadly opening. 1987, the year when everything seemed normal, or so it appeared. Hundreds of golden toads emerged from their underground burrows during the rainy season to breed in ephemeral pools, just like they always had. It was a visual symphony. Males clustered around shallow waters, waiting for mates with blind devotion. But something went wrong. The rains failed, the pools dried up, eggs desiccated before they could hatch. And the following year, there were only a handful of toads. In 1989, just one male golden toad was seen. One, the last spark of a dying flame. And then, nothing. Silence. Gone, like smoke in a windstorm. Despite relentless searches, conservationists never saw another golden toad again. It was officially declared extinct by the IUCN in 2004, but in reality, it had likely disappeared years before. An extinction so sudden, so brutal, that it became the poster child for ecological collapse. Monteverde was supposed to be a sanctuary, a jewel of conservation success. With its swirling mists and lush canopies, it was a biodiversity hotbed, protected from logging and deforestation. But that wasn't enough. Even in this supposedly untouched paradise, the golden toad perished. Why? Because no fence can stop the sky from warming. No border can block fungal spores carried on the wind. No national park can shield a species from a destabilized planet. Monteverde's climate began shifting in the 1980s. The mist that once cloaked the forest began thinning. Rain patterns grew erratic. The once reliable wet season dried up unpredictably. Scientists now know that global warming was altering the very cloud cover that the golden toad depended on. The climate had turned against its most colourful resident, and the forest, for all its richness, could no longer protect it. While climate change lit the fire, Chytrid fungus carried the dagger. This waterborne pathogen attacks amphibians' skin, which they use to breathe, hydrate, and regulate electrolytes. Infection is almost always fatal, and it spread like wildfire, often unnoticed until populations collapsed. For golden toads, whose breeding pools made them easy targets, the results were catastrophic. But how did this fungus reach Monteverde? Theories abound. Some blame global trade, especially in exotic pets. Others point to scientific fieldwork inadvertently introducing the disease. And climate change may have turned Monteverde into a pathogen paradise. As temperatures climbed, so did fungal virulence. The golden toad stood no chance. It was a massacre. What makes the golden toad's extinction so infuriating is not just that it happened, but that it was predictable. We knew the risks. We saw the signs. And we did nothing. The golden toad wasn't just a random casualty, it was a flashing red light on the dashboard of Earth. But humanity looked away. And we're still doing it. Deforestation continues. Emissions are soaring. Climate agreements are made and broken like political promises. We're gambling with the only planet we have, and species like the golden toad are paying the price. This amphibian story is a tragedy, yes. But it's also a mirror, a reflection of our apathy, our short-sightedness, and our refusal to listen to nature's alarms. The golden toad vanished, not because of one villain, but because of 1,000 small decisions that added up to catastrophe. Today, the golden toad lives only in photos and memory. It's a ghost species, haunting the forests where it once blazed like a living ember. But its legacy is far from over. Conservationists, climatologists, and ecologists still cite the golden toad as a case study in what's at stake. Museums display its taxidermied remains as a sobering reminder. And artists, filmmakers, and environmentalists have adopted its image as a symbol of what we stand to lose. It represents not just the death of a species, but the fragility of ecosystems, the consequences of human negligence, and the terrifying speed at which extinction can unfold. In the golden toad's death, there is a rallying cry, a demand to wake up, to act, to change. The golden toad may have been the first amphibian extinction linked to climate change, but it was far from the last. Frogs, salamanders, and toads around the world are vanishing. Over 40% of amphibian species are now threatened. Some biologists call it the amphibian apocalypse. Others warn we're heading toward Earth's 6th mass extinction. Either way, the facts are stark. We are in the middle of a biodiversity crisis unlike any in human history. And if we don't act, the golden toad will be remembered not as an anomaly, but as the beginning of a wave that swept the planet clean. There is still hope, but it's running out. Conservationists are now working feverishly to protect remaining amphibians. Captive breeding programs, biosecure reserves, antifungal treatments, and habitat protection are all part of a desperate push to avoid more golden toad-style disappearances. New technology, including environmental DNA sampling, allows scientists to detect rare species and respond faster to outbreaks. And public awareness is finally catching up. But let's be clear, without bold climate action, these efforts are band-aids on a hemorrhage. The golden toad didn't need a cage. It needed clouds. It needed a stable climate. It needed rain when it rained and mist when it misted. Saving amphibians means saving ecosystems. It means decarbonizing the planet, protecting wild places, and fundamentally rethinking our relationship with nature. If you think this is just a sad frog story, think again. The golden toad is a microcosm of planetary collapse. Its extinction is a foreshadowing, a snapshot of what lies ahead if humanity doesn't change course. Every degree the Earth warms, every forest we destroy, every ecosystem we destabilize, increases the odds of another golden toad moment. And eventually, it won't be just frogs and forests. It will be food systems, coastlines, entire human populations. We cannot afford to treat biodiversity as expendable. We cannot treat extinctions as footnotes. The golden toad was a warning in gold and fire, and if we continue to ignore it, we'll be writing our own obituary in the same ink. The golden toad is gone. It will never croak again in the mists of Monteverde, never spawn another glittering generation, never bask in the mossy twilight of its cloud forest home, but its silence should echo louder than any scream. It should shake our indifference and ignite our urgency. We failed the golden toad, but we still have time to honor its memory, not with tears, but with action. This is the story of a vanished jewel, and the planet that might follow it if we don't wake up. Because extinction is not just about what we've lost, it's about what we're about to lose next.